is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Podcast News and 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And also, once a month, I host the only online broadcast in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Care, and it's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. One more thing I have to do, amongst others, is I am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, otherwise known as the GFDI, and it is a nonprofit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are involved in food, wine, and travel. As always, I like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And if you're watching this live, and even if you're not, most Sunday afternoons in around 5 o'clock, I host a conversation called Black Canada Talking. And what is Black Canada Talking all about? It's an online event that provides Black Canadians an opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of importance to them. And we also feature Black Canadians, whether they're living here in Canada, like myself and my guests, or they're around the world. Today, we have someone that is fantastic, or she likes to say I can't even say it. She's supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I don't think I said it as good as her, but she says it all in one breath. I need two. Nicole Waldron is a professional event planner, inspirational speaker, podcaster, activist, producer, event planning specialist, multifaceted. She works tirelessly for the advancement, progress, and prosperity of her community. She has an over 28-year plus career spanning fields such as project management, arts administration, public relations, governance, and social advocacy. She has served as a consultant to many festivals and special events in the United States, Trinidad and Tobago, and many regions in Canada. Last year, she started her Victory Speaks podcast, which you need to check out because she's my mentor now, because I'm falling behind her, and she provides listeners with the tools to be mentally fit. In addition, she launched the Victory Speaks online show, where she hosts inspired conversation series with individuals who inspire us to live and lead a victorious lifestyle. I could go on about all the different accolades I could say about this lady, but I'm just going to give you some. Oh my goodness. She is a tireless advocate in the areas related to violence against women, mental health, and issues affecting the Black community. She serves on the board of many organizations such as Sisters for Hope and Stella's Place. She sits an advisor on committees for the Ontario Family Caregivers Network, the Reach Out Response Network, which is a Toronto mental health service, the 100 ABC Women, the Cooperators. She's an Ontario Regional Delegate on various committees for CAMH, which is the Center for Addiction and Mental Health here in Canada. She is past board member for the Cooperative Housing Federation of Canada and its Ontario Council. She's a past board president, and also the Cooperative Housing Federation of Toronto and Dr. Roz's Healing Place. I think that was one of the first places her and I met, but I think we knew each other before that. Other thing, she was named in the past to the 100 Black accomplished Canadian women and highlighted as one of the 150 women in Canada by How She Hustles, Her Story in Black series. Her Story in Black series. I've left out a lot of things, but one of the things that's recent, she was a recipient of the 2020 Brian Birch Community Service Award from the Cooperative Housing Federation of Toronto for outstanding community service. I've left out a lot, but let's just get her on. Nicole, come on down, please.
Hey, you didn't have to read all of that, Dr. Vibe.
Why not?
Oh my God.
Why not?
I'm going to send shorter bios from now on.
No.
Way shorter.
Oh, and look at this.
Hey,
look
Sarah.
Already in the house. Sarah. Well, if I didn't read the whole thing, there's a lady named JP. Joan Pierre, who would be on my. So I'm going to make sure that I come correct. How we doing today?
You know what? I'm good. The sun is shining outside. I can see the lake from where I'm at. So I've actually spent a lot of time looking at the water this morning, just, in a nice quiet time, just really doing some meditation and self-reflection. So I'm good today.
Fantastic. There was one thing that was left out of your bio. You know what the most important thing is?
What's that, sir?
You're a wonderful mother.
Oh, thank you, Doc.
And not only to your son, but you're a mother to many.
Yeah, that actually is true. Yes, I am. I gotta
I was,
receive it. I
I'm
gotta
not gonna,
receive it.
yeah, and I'm not gonna let you away with that one because there's a list of people I could give on my arm that would regard you as that.
Yeah, if I didn't receive it, I would be in a lot of trouble from a lot of folks. So yeah, yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, folks, Nicole and I, we're just gonna chop it up, but there are some people that probably don't know much about you.
Oh, after all that introduction, they don't need to know anything
Yeah, but
else.
they don't know where you're born. They don't
Okay,
know all that
okay,
stuff.
okay.
Okay.
I'm in your chair now, so I'll just chill and let you take the reins. What do you want to know, Doctor Vibe?
Just young Nicole, life growing up, how you got to Canada, family, those sort of things.
Well, I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm the first of three girls. And I was the only child for 7 years, so they call call you spoiled when you're growing up like that. And my especially my mom's side, she has 14 brothers and sisters, so I had lots of cousins growing up. It was fun. I was a tomboy, believe it or not. Um, the things I liked then, I don't probably like now. I used to go catch fish and frogs and tadpoles and caterpillars. So I was the real tomboy, growing up in Trinidad, and but always volunteering. I was part of the YMCA and grew up there swimming, and swimming is my sport, and I still love it. And then at age 18, going on 19, came here with my family, and wanted to be a child psychologist when I came here. Uh, but that didn't end up happening, and I actually got a job the first week I was working here. And then I met people like Joan Pierre, Bonnie Hector, Anne Marie Placid, and got into Caravana and started volunteering in events, something that I loved and was passionate about. And so, after a 10-year stint and having my son, at the company I worked for, they were changing and they were actually moving to the US. And so I ended up just going into being an event planner. So I was doing that for a very long time with great mentors, like some of the people that I told you about, and baptized by fire in Canadian soil with Caravana. And many events flowed after that.
Okay. All right. Let me ask with you, do you remember the first few days living in Canada and was it someplace you wanted to get to?
You're young. You're young. It's exciting. I don't remember my first few days in Canada. We were by my aunt's place. We lived in deepest part of lower part of Scarborough in West Hill, and so it was a different experience. I mean, we had lived in England before, in Wales before, so the
Oh,
cold was something that wasn't new to me, being in the cold, having to wear a winter jacket, all those kind of things weren't. I mean, the cold there in Wales is definitely different than the cold here in Canada.
right.
And I was younger then. I think I was like 16 when we lived in Wales, 15, 16 when we lived in Wales. So definitely a different experience, but it is what it is.
Mm. What memories or what things that your parents lived by that you still carry today?
Um, Service, kindness, always a very giving family. My mom was one who would always, birthdays was a big thing. I grew up celebrating birthdays as a little girl. So birthdays were always fun. Our house in the neighborhood was the house that birthday parties were held. Family came over. My aunt would always make my late aunt, Auntie Ursi, would make my birthday cake, was, whatever she decided that year. She would always make like a doll, and just the fun times of growing up and celebrating family. That family is important, and celebrating our births is very important. That was one of the things that was very important to us, and that's something that we continue to this day. Birthdays still are very special in our family, and we always find a way to celebrate it, even if it's for half an hour. We all get together, and at least we must have cake. you know
Yes. Yes. I want to bless you because you've taken your foundation of family and extended it to people who are not blood relatives. I'm sure many people, and I've heard the stories,
Oh,
how they feel that you are a mom. I've heard the stories.
okay. Okay.
So I'm glad to know where that came from. I've always wanted to ask you where that foundation came
Yeah.
from.
It's
Your
definitely family. It's
Yeah.
it's the whole family thing. And I'll tell you one thing. I grew up my mom's oldest sister, who is no longer here, Muriel Donovan McDavidson. She was one of the first female ministers in Trinidad and Tobago. And so growing up around her, and I guess as I said, 7 years, um, and just being in her shadow, and she was an advocate, and she was an advocate for women, and she did a lot of great things for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So, and she's a legacy within her own self. So that also growing up in her footsteps is part of the it's part of the legacy, you know.
So basically, this is just a continuation of the family legacy.
It kind of is, yeah, yeah.
Nice. I'm gonna ask you to share a little about your son because I find him a wonderful gentleman, and you've been kind enough at times to just ask my advice with him. And I really want you to whatever you want to share about your son, because I think people, for encouragement, they need to know how important your son is to you and sometimes the challenges you have with your son.
Well, I'll tell you some of it because you know it's still a journey.
Yes.
My son was born on my birthday, January 7th, so that is a gift of its own. And his name is Amani, and it means peace, and always a very peaceful young man. An athlete, can do anything. He loves carpentry and can build anything with his hands, and and also very kind and big heart as well, and very, has a wonderful sense of humor. Sometimes a reflection of myself, sometimes which is a good thing for him, and sometimes not so good. And in the last 5 years, it's been a little challenging for him. In 2015, he was involved in a car accident, and not a car accident, a bike accident, and he was doored. And so that led to several complications, and his life has definitely changed. And one of the challenges being that he was released from the hospital the same night that that he had the bike accident. And um, when he was released from the hospital, and it's so important that we make sure that we have advocates when we go to the medical facilities here. They released him, didn't call his next of kin, did not call, you know, say, should somebody come and pick you up? And he left with a traumatic brain injury, trigeminal nerve pain to his face. He had rebroken his face, um, re-injured his face from a break. Sorry, he had a torn rotator cuff. He had torn ligaments in his leg, and this led to a series of complications over the last 5 years. So it's been a journey. Many people don't know the story because I protect his privacy as much as I can. He's a young man growing up in the city, and you know he's evolving and healing from many of his injuries, and every day is a different day. And but it has taught me a lot, and the stress has been real. The mental health for myself and for the family and for him has been real as well, and learning about anxiety and depression at a whole nother level we've had to deal with, and which has also made me become an advocate for mental health and wellness in our community, among the other medical
Oh
issues.
yeah, all the other millions of advocacy things you do, but
Yeah, no,
I'm gonna leave it at that.
yeah,
I'm gonna leave, but I one of the many things I I don't like to say the admire respect about you is that you find a way of making flowers when there doesn't look like there's flowers.
and I love flowers.
Yes, I know
And I
that.
and I learned, you know what, nature, like camping may not be my thing, but I love nature. I'm an introvert, most well, an ambivert, really more, but I get my energy from nature. I love the water. I love the trees, like just sitting and looking at the trees, just blowing in the wind. That gives me life. So I could spend time with myself in a nature environment. And once I have flowers and stuff like that, I just get some energy from it. And I just see the beauty of life from it, and how, like this time for me, this time, spring going into, like I should say, winter going into spring, and then summer going into fall, when you see the leaves changing and you see the changing of life, it reminds me of the power of life. And that always floors me. That's something that can look when you can look at the trees right now that they look dead to the natural eye, but there's life growing inside of them, that always mesmerizes me. And that's always a reminder of me that even though sometimes when we may feel low and we may feel down, there's still life in us. We just have to get into the right atmosphere, or the temperature, or the environment needs to shift, and so
Mm.
that we can come alive and grow and get new buds and get new leaves and then bear fruit, you know? So,
Mm. You're on fire, you know. You're on fire. That now I know now I know it can go. Now I got my dose. So
oh
good
gosh,
now.
oh gosh, oh
Good,
gosh.
good, we're good. We're good now. One of the many reasons that I wanted you to come on today is that this is International Women's Month.
Yeah.
And for me, there I'm glad I'm having you on during
Thank
this
you.
time, during this month, because you have such great personal insight, lived insight, and insight from others, Black women, what's going on. So that's one of the main reasons I had you on today, to just talk about the state of Black womanhood from your eyes and your heart. So I just want to say, from what you hear, what you see, what is going on in the eyes and the hearts of Black women as we're celebrating International Women's Month?
It's a huge topic. It's such a huge
That's
topic.
why we got, at least, hey, I may bring you back next week too. So just
Oh
behave
my gosh.
yourself.
Sarah Oyango, Joan Pierre, you joining me?
Yeah,
Just
you
say
know
it.
what? Interesting you said that. I would love that to happen. So
Sarah, if you're
I'm
still
putting,
listening, Joan Pierre, if you're still listening,
I,
we're not
I,
seeing any comments.
I'm putting it out there. I would love to have Sarah and Joan, if they're up to it. I would like to have a panel discussion if they're up to it. Go
That
on.
would be awesome. That would
No,
be awesome.
so I'm putting it out there now, ladies. And even if one of you come, the other one will drag the other one. They don't want to be left out. So go
Come on
on.
now.
All right.
Let's see if we can make that happen. And actually, next week, Joan Pierre is getting an award, but I won't say anything else. Um, right, Joan Pierre? But, I wouldn't even say but. However, it's interesting, this International Women's Month. There's been
Oh,
such
oh,
a.
oh,
Oh, oh,
oh,
oh,
oh,
oh,
oh,
oh.
oh,
What happened?
oh.
Sarah says it's on. Yes, Sarah. Yes. Reviving from Ottawa.
All right.
Hallelujah.
Fine.
Hallelujah.
I
Yes.
couldn't get her on myself. It took you to get her on my
Listen, I
platform.
can't even get Sarah Oyango on my show. So the fact that we can get her on together, it's on. It's on.
Oh,
Next week, Sunday at 5. It's
I,
on. It's
done.
on.
Done. So there's JP. You're next. Go on.
Yeah, I haven't seen her give any comments yet. So I'm waiting
All
to
right.
see. So, when I think about International Women's Day, International Women's Month, it's been a month this year, and a time where you're seeing a lot more action. You're seeing a lot more, I get more conversations are happening. I know I've been involved in a couple of conversations. Skills for Change had um, a talk on Monday. BBPA is doing a whole bunch of stuff, and it's like every day there is at least 2, 3, 4, 5 events, and it's hard to keep up with what's happening with International Women's Month. But the theme is choose to challenge, and so one of the part of the conversation has been choose to challenge. What are you choosing to challenge as a woman in yourself, and what are you choosing to challenge in others? One of the things I've chosen to challenge to women is choose your mental health and wellness. Because as women, we have been bleeding while leading and not really healing. We have been continuing to wear all the different hats. We are doctors, we are lawyers, we're nurses, and I'm talking about as mothers and as women. I'm not even talking the certificates. We're the cook, chief, and bottle washer, and so we keep going, 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 and we're also being called a strong Black woman. And as much as it is a compliment, it has been to our detriment. Um, so many people look at Black women and call them strong and don't allow them to have moments, don't allow them to be human beings. And it's so unrealistic to expect women to just be the strong pillar every single day. And then also Black women have also to have some self-compassion with themselves and with others, because as they look at other Black women, if they're not being strong in the moment, they tell them kind of like, suck it up. Back in our day, we would do this and we would do that. It's a different time, it's a different season, and we have to be compassionate to others. We have to be understanding of where women are at, young women are at, and young girls are at. And then we have COVID-19 added to everything else. We have come very far as women. We have a lot more to go. I mean, now women can vote, but there's still some countries, as I did a panel recently, um, there are countries where it was only 100 years ago that women were able to vote. In Canada, it was 105 years ago women were able to vote. So it's very real what we as women are experiencing. When we start talking about women in leadership, that has not been another big conversation. Women that are in boards, not just, nonprofit boards that are quiet and community boards, but women on corporate boards, Black women on corporate boards. Where are they at? The equal pay piece, that has been another part of the conversation. Um, and so the conversation has been very wide and broad for women. And it's now how we as women can help empower each other. It's where we as women we have to really learn how to stop competing each other and completing and complementing each other, fixing each other's crowns. As you know, there's that. I remember putting up a picture the other day as a little girl, a little Black girl putting up another Black girl's crown and fixing it. And that got the most hits. Like, I've put up other stuff and that got so many hits on Instagram. And so it's telling you that women want to have the support of other women. But however, if we don't pause, if we don't do a mental fitness test of ourselves, and my thing is, we need to start minding our minds. And I had to take a conscious step back and recognize, am I being my best mental health state? And so I went on a mental health fast, and I had to go back on that. And I went on that a few years ago. And so I encourage any woman listening, any man listening, anyone listening, to do that mental fitness check. Where am I at? What am I eating? What am I listening to? What am I speaking? What am I doing? Is it in alignment with my mental health and wellness? Because what people may miss is that our brain and our minds work in tangent. So when we have negative thoughts, it actually changes the construct of our brains. And the same thing with positive thoughts. So no matter what, whether you are a believer in a religion or non-religion, whether you are just doing some motivational talking or speaking, this is why it works, because our mental health is tied to our brains and our mindset is tied to our brains and what we do. So we as women in particular, as we go and continue to fight the fight that we're fighting, and lead while bleeding, and we need to heal, we need to be mentally fit and to be mentally well.
Okay.
Selah.
All right. I was ready to just leave and just have this be the Black Canada Talking, aka the Nicole Waldron Hour. That's
Oh,
just that's,
I love you.
that was beautiful. That was beautiful. So many areas I want to see if we can jump in with the time that we have. Let's talk about how has the pandemic impacted women in your from your where you're sitting.
Oh my gosh, it's on so many levels. Economically, it has been a really big hit. Because whether you're white, black, Filipino, doesn't matter. Um, you know, Women, for the most part, are the ones in the home, and they've been taking care of their homes and they've been working. We also have a lot of women that are frontline workers, nurses, and especially in, from the Black community and the Filipino community, we have a lot of people in front guy PSWs, and then we have the doctors. So there has been some attack on our health, and then some of them have had to stop working because there's the choices that are being made. Who's going to stay home? How do we protect our families? And then we have many with young children at home doing, online learning. And so, especially in the first part of the pandemic, what do you do when you have online learning? You don't have childcare. Somebody's got to stay home, and if you don't have another person to stay home, it's the mother. So again, you have a lot of loss of jobs happening for women. So the pandemic has definitely hit us economically, and it has hit us in our health outside of the actual virus itself.
Wow, that is where would you say that it made a challenging situation and just amplified how challenging it has been for many women out there?
Yes, it has. And here's the good side. I always say there's an opportunity in the crisis. That's my thing. We have to find the opportunity in the crisis. Um, And so, just like one of the things out of the pandemic is it's amplified what has we have known for sure. But for some reason, the excuses can no longer be made that there is this lack for women. There's this lack of care. There's this lack of, you can't close your eyes and say like women have it all together, and we have everything in place for women, the right equal pay. So we're seeing that the pay equity is not there. Um, so no longer can they close their eyes. The mental wellness, it cannot be closed their eyes to, like counseling, like free. We have free. I mean, if you're in Canada, we have free healthcare. But what's not free is mental health care, unless you are in a hospital. So therefore, if and I mean I love the pandemic from the point of view is like all of a sudden we got a lot more free programs that are coming out. However, they're not consistent. They're not. It's so the system is already stretched, and so it's creating a backlog. And there's program out there in Canada that one can call in, but every time you're calling, it's a different counselor,
Mm.
and so that can be a hindrance. Um, Drug use has gone up, but here's one of the big things that have gone up for women that some people are talking about, not everybody, is violence against women. Because with the pandemic, women are home with their abusive spouses, and there's no escape. And so for the people that I know that are working in the field, when they talk to me, that's one of the things they're talking about. Um, and it's a very this is where there's a very become a very dangerous place for women and their families. And so when spring hit and things lifted, they were moving like this, but the shelters were full, and the shelters were full beyond capacity. I know I had a couple women that we were trying to move in some of the spaces that I'm in, but we had nowhere to send them because the places were full. So one of the biggest pieces, violence against women, has skyrocketed.
You know, it's funny, Nicole. I I knew I had a feeling it would, but I'm not hearing a lot of reports on it via the media. So
You have to be tuned into that hemisphere, otherwise you're not knowing it. Like one of the agencies that I really admire the work that they're doing is they're called shelter movers, and they actually move women for free who have been in the space of affected by violence, and they need a safe place to move, and they need somebody's safety to move them. And it's the only organization of its kind in Canada that moves women for free,
wow.
that are fleeing violence. And so they've been actually really ramping up their campaign to let people know what's going on. And I think the Women's Foundation have been doing the same thing, and CAMH has been doing some pieces on it. Um, but also up as well is suicide. So that's another thing that is up. You'll see a lot more suicide campaigns are coming up, and also the other thing that's coming up as well is drug use. And
But
the
we're
drug use
not
is high.
hearing about these things, Nicole.
Yeah.
We're
And
not hearing.
if you're not in that realm, you're not hearing about it because you're just not party to it. I mean, I where I live, we've had a death to overdose in our building in the last 3 weeks, and I have seen in the neighborhood, you see the difference in the drug use of the people. Um, OFCAN, one of the organizations that I sit on the committee, when we hear the stories of families and what they're experiencing, it will break your heart. And the system doesn't have the capacity, and the Mental Health Care Act actually puts families at a disadvantage. But that's a conversation that will take a whole nother day. But there
Yeah.
are families in crisis that are trying to get help for their loved ones. And, especially if you have a loved one who's gone in for a drug addiction, sometimes they get released 2, 3 days later, but there's no rehab place to send them. So the cycle continues. And then there's homelessness. We haven't even touched that.
Oh, oh boy.
The list is endless as to what families are experiencing. People are losing their homes, people are losing their businesses, and we have to support each other. We have to try and support local as best as we can. We're supporting the big box stores, and I encourage people, go and find the local people in your neighborhood, those businesses, and find a way to support them. Call them up, leave a message. How can we support you? How can we buy from you? Do you have roads curbside pickup? What can we do? you know Event planners like myself and Joan and a whole bunch of us, people say, "Oh, okay, well, Nicole, you're doing your show and stuff like that." Hello, yeah, I'm doing my show, but the place where I get my income That's not happening right now. So a lot of us are feeling it in so many ways. And the child abuse, yes, Joe,
Oh,
the child abuse,
let's talk
the
about
child abuse
this.
is like the child abuse at home, the you know, that has skyrocketed as well because it goes hand in hand with the physical abuse for women, emotional abuse for women, and financial abuse for women. Because we have to remember, abuse is not just about the hitting, and that's what people forget. The emotional abuse that is taking place right now is taking a toll beyond measure, and people may not realize how they're being abusive to their partners, whether they're living with them or living away from them. The emotional abuse, because people's the tension is high, and people's capacities right now, because they're being stretched beyond measure, and we do not have the infrastructure in place to deal with the mental health challenges that need to be put in place. So we have a lot of work to do, and we have to support ourselves. It is important, I believe, to have, yes, sir, I see that suicide and addiction needs to be, yes, destigmatized and addressed head on as a community. And let me go to that. We have decriminalized cannabis, and we're saying to decriminalize, you know drugs, and people don't understand. You're criminalizing people for an illness. How do you criminalize somebody for an illness and you do not put the infrastructures in place to take care of them? Yes, they may end up in places where they're stealing and doing things like that. But if rehabs are only keeping you for 2 and 3 months or 2 and 3 weeks, it's not a long time. So the system is being stressed. As I told you, this is a subject that needs to be discussed. This is a whole nother passion subject that I'm passionate about, that I haven't even touched yet, because I listen to the families um, who have lost their loved ones because they couldn't get help, especially the ones who have dealing with addictions. It is horrific when you hear their stories. But as I go back to one of the things I was saying, we need to have some iron sharpeners in our lives. Like, I consider you one of my iron sharpeners. And my inner circle, it's very small, but your iron sharpeners have to be there to help you along, whether you're going through something tough, whether you're going through something happy. We have to really find the people that can speak our language, but build us up when we're feeling down, and celebrate us when we're feeling down, but celebrate us when we need to be celebrated. Iron sharpens iron. You cannot sharpen a metal with plastic. So you need those people, whether it's a counselor, a life coach, a mentor. We need people in our lives that are going to fill us up and help us fill up. We have to recognize that we can't, no man is an island, and we can't do this alone. But we have to be honest with our emotions. We have to be honest with our mental health and wellness. And we need to seek help when we need it. And sometimes we may need medication. Um, because it may just be to the point that it is not just something you can think away. And people love to think that, you can think your thoughts away. No, it's not that easy. And especially when it comes to emotional abuse and the PTSD, don't get me started, Dr. Vibe.
No, you can continue,
You
man.
got me, you got me started. You got me started.
No, no, but that's what I want. I want to hear your passion, your concern, the evaluate experience of yourself, and the evaluate experience of others, because we're not gonna see it on the news.
No, we're not.
You are at ground level,
Yeah.
right? You are at ground level. So I want the people who are watching this around the world to know that it's happening in Canada too. It's happening
It's
in
happening.
Toronto
The
too.
racism is happening. Yes, we're working on anti-black racism, and I love it. As I say, I don't like to state problems without solutions. So COVID has brought a lot of problems and a lot of things, but we have to decide how we're going to find perspective. Here's the thing: the P word, right? You've heard that big P word, Dr. Vibe. Let's pivot. Okay, I got some more I got some more P words for you. Not F words, but P words. So
Yes.
so
I
So
Hey,
there's some pain that is coming out of this, but in the pain, we need to find perspective, and in that perspective, we'll find purpose, and in that purpose, that's when we pivot. If we're trying to pivot,
I'm dropping my mic.
don't drop the mic.
No,
It's a good
the
mic.
mic,
It's a
the
good
mic
mic.
ball, the
The
mic
mic
ball,
ball. Okay.
the foam, not the mic itself.
Yeah. So And I'm not saying anything that I'm not doing myself. And yes, sometimes it is literally hard. And if you're hearing noise in the background, I apologize because somebody's decided to start drilling in my where I live,
It's
not in
okay.
my house, but in the building. And so one of the things is, as we recognize that we're in pain, the loneliness, we can't see some of our families, the grief, people have to bury their loved ones. How do we deal with this? People are saying, we're zoomed out. Dr. Vibe, people hear victory speaks. It's a sentence. It's literally not, it's not like victory speaks. Your victory speaks. What life and death is in the power of the tongue. If you're going to speak life or you're going to speak death over your situation, I'm not perfect. Don't get me wrong. Because sometimes
Another
it
P
is,
word, another
it,
P word.
another, yeah, I feel it myself. However, my iron sharpeners remind me that I need to pivot, that I need to change my perspective. That, okay, Nicole, you're feeling low today. This is who I can send a text to. It's not that kind of a day. And they give me life. And then I have to check myself. What am I saying to myself? Because my victory speaks in what I do. So I have to go back to my vision. This is a great time for people, for all of us to re envision ourselves. Go back to our, we love to do vision boards for businesses. I challenge many people, have you done a personal vision board for yourself, for your family? That's a whole different ball game. What's your intention? This time of COVID and reimagination and the pandemic, when we come out of this, it's not going to be the same. So, how can we reimagine life? What are the values that we need to put in place? What are the things that we recognize from this that we can learn about ourselves to be our better selves? Our job, many people love to say, okay, I got to be the winner. And I know I'm packing a lot in here. And a friend said to me, and when he said it to me, I had to take it and I ruminated on it and I recognized this is a truth. We do not have to cross the finish line first. We have to cross the finish line as our own best self. We have to cross the finish line together. So if we do it like Dr. Vibe, if I give you, let's not look at it as a sprint where I have to be Atto Bolton or one of those guys. I'm going to give you, Dr. Vibe,
Yeah.
the baton. Let's run a marathon instead
Mm-hmm.
and give you the baton, and then you give Luke, and then you give Joan, and then you give Sarah. Everybody passes on each person, and then we all can cross the finish line together,
Together. Yeah.
building each other up, lifting each other up. How can we be more creative in this pandemic? Listen, we can do interviews with people that we never could do it before. A vaccine was created in a year, which used to take a longer
Yeah. Yeah.
time.
Exactly. Exactly.
But when I
But
listen to the doctors speak, they say, well, it has to be faster because we're not at the Spanish flu stage. If it took us long at the Spanish flu, we have not progressed in 100 years. We have to think about these things. Are we going to complain, or are we going to find the blessing in the storm and not use it as a cliche, but really look for the beauty in the ashes? Really look that the fire refines us and we can come out as pure gold. Really look at what do we really believe? What do we have faith in? And recognize that happiness starts from within, and then everybody else that comes into our lives are the icing on the cake. And COVID taught many of us that, reminded us that many people were looking to their jobs for identity and validation.
yeah.
And that's not who we are. We are not our jobs. We are not the things we do. Who are we as a people first? And I appreciate you that you have been bringing this out in others. You have been shining the light on many. You have been lifting each other up. You have been mentoring. You call me a mentor. I call you a mentor as well. And that's the beauty of iron sharpening iron,
Yeah.
because where you are sharpening in me in one way, I'm sharpening you in another way. And then there's Sarah.
Absolutely.
Like when I look at Sarah, when I look at Joan, when I look at these, everybody has a piece.
Yeah.
But when we really recognize the vision is for everybody to be their best self, we will
Mm.
be a better people.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Uh, Sarah's saying, unleash the P words, mic drop. Joan Brown is saying pain, purpose, perspective, and pivot. Man, McCall, you're the P lady. And Sarah's going, we are not our jobs nor things we do. Yes. Wow.
And I love Joan Brown's her icon. It says I am enough.
Yes.
And that's the
That's
other thing.
beautiful.
Can you really remember that you are enough? Like, Dr. Vibe, if you would embellish a bit, like when we listen to our friend Mario Armstrong, when he talks
Oh,
about affirmations, and many people don't think affirmations work, and he really made me, between him and Danny Stone, they really made me look at affirmations in a whole different way, and it's working.
oh yeah.
It's changing my life. Like I
Oh
took it
yeah.
for granted before, but I'm
Do you,
teachable.
I'm not going to show people, but in the last office that I worked in, I had a wall covered with his affirmations. Covered.
Wow.
I mean, people would come and say, like, what's, and they would read and go, that's good. Like one of his affirmations was, if you only think like a pigeon, you're going to be pigeonholed.
Ooh, that's good. That's
Right.
good.
So I have to set them up here in my home office, but I had all these, and every time I would look up, I would see these reinforcements
Mhm. Mhm.
in me, and the affirmations are so, because as someone I think you and I know said a long time ago, where the mind goes, the person
Come
follows.
on now. Come on now.
Where the mind goes, the person follows. But yes, as I say to people during this time, if you are able, don't waste this crisis. And that's what I'm
That is good.
saying to Black Canadians. Don't waste this crisis. Things are changing, and I don't want us to be left behind. And I have a feeling that some are going to be left behind. Some of the people you're talking about, Nicole, like if they're left behind, we all suffer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. It's sobering. It's a very sobering. It's an exciting time if you can do it. It's a very sobering time, and it's a time of reinvention, and it's a scary time. Let's be
Yes.
real. It's a
Yeah.
scary time, but it's what you do with the fear. It's what you do with the fear.
I wanted to ask, in some of the conversations I've heard in the last month, especially when a number of these online conversations, what can you share with us about the experiences of Black women in the corporate world?
But I mean, I can answer some of it. I'm not in the corporate
Yeah,
world
I
per
know
se.
you're not, but you
I'm
do have
not.
a wide scope of
Yeah,
conversations with women.
yeah, I do. And again, it comes back to, like, when we had the conversation with the BPPA, and we had a really good panel. Like, we had Selena, we had Patricia Mawa, we had Diana. I mean, we had a really good plethora of individuals. And the thing that came on was about equity in the
Yes.
job space, the finances, what people were being paid, how they were being treated, the angry black woman syndrome, and here's let's
Go there, Nicole. You're smiling, so go there. Go there.
let's pivot, and keep in the same space and thinking span as the woman in corporate space. So let's pivot to um, the big conversation in the last week. One of the big conversations we had, Meghan Markle, right?
Oh
The
yes.
interview with Oprah. And
Yes.
then that spurred on the talk with Sharon Osbourne and Cheryl. And so what has happened is Sharon Osbourne went on and defended Piers and said that, she supports her friend. And when Cheryl was Underwood was saying, well, Miss Sharon was being all defensive, and Cheryl was saying, well, he was actually being racist, and Sharon Osbourne couldn't understand. And there was a big outing happening on the show, right? So there we had two women who are supposedly friends coming on each other, and I've listened to many commentaries on it. And one of the key things was Sharon Osbourne told Cheryl, "You're gonna cry. You're gonna cry about this." And so the black woman was not allowed to cry. But Sharon Osbourne was allowed to shed tears. And so we had this whole Karen syndrome coming up. I can't wait till you have your two girls on talking about this, because
Oh,
this right here, now my middle name is Karen, so I really don't like when they start referring to the behavior as Karen, because Karen means pure. So that kind of behavior is not pure. But let me tell you, when we start weaponizing, a black woman's tears for what she's going through. When we start weaponizing a woman when she starts telling her truth, and this is happening in corporate Canada, where you have to be always be mindful, and this is another conversation that's happening. So we're going into the corporate space and the public space, that when you're in a boardroom, when you're having a conversation with, you have to watch your tone. How many times, and I know, like, I've been in board meetings where I've had to watch my tone, because I don't want to come across as the angry black woman, but I got to get my point across. And this whole example with Cheryl and Sharon was a great example of what is happening in corporate America, corporate Canada, corporate wherever you want it, where we always have to bite our tongue and hold our composure, because Cheryl held her composure. She was professional all the way. But she said, I had to go to the dentist after. What that meant was she was clenching her jaw so tight that it impacted her dental health.
wow.
Okay. She didn't have to say it. The minute she said that she had to go to the dentist,
Bang.
it told me, because how many of us as women, because you as black men have something they have to go through themselves, but women, we have this other thing that once we start speaking up, and especially black women, you know, if you come from a Caribbean background or an African background, when we get passionate about something, all of a sudden we're told that we're being bossy or bitchy. Excuse my French, but that's what we're told. Or your tone, or you offended me, or I'm afraid of you, and all this kind of hogwash that just takes me to a whole nother level. And I'm not the only person.
Okay, hold
Shorty
on,
just
hold on. Yeah, 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 okay, okay. All right, let the producer put the comments up, because Nicole is bringing fire, right? Absolutely. Don't waste this crisis. Kudos to all the professionals, activists, and entrepreneurs who have looked past the fear and created initiatives to help the community face the public health and economic crisis. Next one, Cheryl should have been pushed back when she was chastised for crying. Shirley Joseph, Black. Oh yes, Black Canadian content creators.
I'm
Yes,
preaching. I'm preaching, Shirley.
yes. That angry black woman trope is a huge problem in this society. Yes.
Listen, many times Cheryl could have taken her across the floor, and she didn't. She didn't. And I sat and I listened. And here's the thing: Cheryl did an interview with Steve Harvey first, after, right? And she kept it together still. And Steve was like, "Listen, I was coming for you, little sis. I was coming." Right? And there comes Sharon Osbourne trying to be all nice and sweet the next day, trying to say she was trying to think about it and BS. Okay, I'm sorry. I am your most compassionate person. Take responsibility that you were wrong. Don't have to wrap it up in this kind of trying to say that you didn't know. You knew, and if you didn't know, then you should have done your research. What Pierce's comments were that were racist? To sit there and say that you don't know which one of his comments were racist and why it was racist, and then you claim to be 68 years old, and well, you know what? If you're 68 and you want to put it out front there, beloved, you should have gone and done your homework. And you can't sit there and criticize Meghan Markle, who you can see in pain. And I've watched many reviews on what was, what she said. And there was a great body language coach who did a great analysis and could tell you where her body language was saying this and what it wasn't saying. The pain was there. Anybody watching that who did not see the pain of what this young lady was going through, I don't know. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And to think that the fact that he would leave his family, that should tell you how big it is. Because that's a big step, to separate yourself from a family that you've been so close to all your life, and this is all you knew. So it's not just about a woman. He actually got some strength from that woman, that black woman. And as he said, I did not understand what black women went through until I was married to one. And most men who are in relationships that are mixed don't understand it until they stand at men or women, whichever one it is, don't understand some of what we go through until they're next to their beloveds and see what racism looks like on the other side. I
Oh.
rest. I am complete. I
I
feel like
am.
I
That's
feel like
another.
I'm Clubhouse. I am
That's
complete.
another. That's another flat for a good thing. This is the clubhouse. This is Dr. Vigil. This ain't clubhouse. This is good.
Oh God.
Joan, you put up anything to say about the mishap at us at the UN. I do not know about that story. Nicole, do you know about it?
What mishap at the UN? Wait, what are you talking about?
I do not know about that one. So, Joan, if you want to type
I
what's
don't
going on in the,
now I'm gonna have to go research the mishap at the UN.
but
Sarah, Joan, whatever you know about it, you gotta tell us because I don't know about the mishap at the UN. That's gonna be food for thought. Okay then. The ads.
mishap ads,
Oh,
especially.
oh my God, my brain doesn't go back that far. There were some ads that were really wrong, but I can't remember them right now. There were some ads, and it came out, and there was some controversy about the ads that the UN put up. I'd have to find the ad to look at it for it to jog my memory. I'm so sorry, but I don't remember right now. But I remember it wasn't it didn't come across too well.
So the world of corporate Canada is not good.
It's getting better. I don't want to say it's not good.
Getting better.
It's getting better because I really don't like to use that to paint everything with broad brush. And I see that there are organizations that are willing to make a difference. At least some of the ones that I'm involved in. Not everybody is doing the changes they need to make, but we need to really um, give credit to where credit's due. But now we need to hold their feet to the fire, right? Because we can't sit back. So like the whole Breonna Taylor, like yesterday was Breonna Taylor's the anniversary. And I don't know if I want to use the word anniversary, but yesterday was a big day, March 13th, and you can hear her mom's pain as she's doing all these different interviews. And so we still don't have justice in that piece. And so there are some changes that are happening, but there's some changes that are still need to. So we still have to hold the feet to the fire. And as we do all these anti-black racism strategies and we get policies being changed, slowly but surely, we cannot let up. This is not the time for us to let up. This is not, we don't have to be bullies. We don't have to be mean, but we have to hold people accountable. And we have to do it together.
So this makes me ask the accountability piece. Yes, we can hold them accountable, but if they're not accountable, what can we do?
You hold them accountable. You speak up. You use your voice. And here's the thing, people think they have to have all this education, or they may have to have this degree, or they may have to have this title. No, if everybody in starts talking, it works. We like I miss John Lewis. Good trouble. We have to create good trouble. We have to use our voices in the social media space. We have to support our politicians. We have to learn how to be nonpartisan and figure out who's actually fighting the right fight and go behind them. I'm NDP, I'm liberal, I'm conservative. Sometimes each person gets it wrong. So figure out who's getting it right. Right now, the NDP, for example, is pushing a bill for sickle cell. So we can sit down there and they're worried and saying it may not go through because people are not supporting the NDP. I really don't care. This is about people that we know that have sickle cell that are not getting the right care in the hospital. So we as a
Right.
community, so many people have put it forward. Jill Andrews have put it forward. The Sickle Cell Association have put it forward. They're being called, drug addicts in the hospital when they have to go for pain. As a community, sickle cell affects mostly black people and people, yes, of Mediterranean descent and other, but the black community is the one that sickle cell affects. Why aren't we joining and jumping up behind them and going to help and push this bill through and not let it fall on the floor?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. We have an advocate like Justice Donald McLeod who was doing, that's a whole nother story, but advocating, and because somebody doesn't like something and somebody doesn't like something, next thing you know, we have people who don't want to advocate anymore because you don't know who's taping your conversation. Let's be real.
Mhm.
Let's be real. Are we going to support each other as a community, in spirit and in truth, or to get at the head of the game. We need to stop this power struggle about I need to be this title. I really don't need a title, Dr. Vibe. I just need to get the work done.
That's right.
Yes,
That's
I
right.
need money to live, but we need to get the work done because at the end of the day, this generation that's coming up behind us, if we do not amplify them, if we do not empower them with the right tools, these are the young people that are going to be making the decisions on our pensions and running the country. And let's not talk about running the country when you're spoiled or a narcissist. Let's not go there. Anyways, you started me
Okay.
up
Yeah.
today.
You know what? You're not starting. You're already on the track. You're just starting you up. You're out of the pit stop. You're gone.
Oh yes, Sarah's put
Okay.
up the thing there. Go ahead.
Okay. So Sarah's put it up. UN Women's Valentine's Day. The now deleted post featured multiple couples embracing each other and a lone black woman
I
embracing
remember it
herself.
now.
The United Nations Women is facing backlash for its Valentine's Day graphic and shared on social media. The now deleted post depicted three diverse couples either embracing or holding hands, and a dark-haired woman left to embrace herself. Yeah.
I remember it. I remember it. It was, and this is when you can tell two things have either happened. Either a black person is not at the table, or black people are not at the table having the influence, or the ones at the table do not have the voice to say this is wrong. There's so many ads, there's so many things that are out there, and you can tell the ones that had people with some chutzpah or some knowledge to say, you know what, this here is racist. This here is not depicting of who we are. This here is stereotypical.
Mm,
But if they don't know, they don't know.
true.
But they need to bring people to the table who know and stop making excuses to say that they no longer know and stop being threatened by us because we're not a
Mm,
threat.
mm. How much communication are you seeing between intergenerational communication are you seeing between women these days?
Um, you know what? I am fortunate enough that sometimes I'm in great circles where there's good communication among women. You will always have, I mean, no matter what it is, women or men, you will always be problems. But I think there's conversation happening. I'm seeing the spaces, you know, even just by what the events that I've seen going on by Skills for Change. Skill for Change did an event on Monday, and I was fortunate to be speaking at it. One of the things they had was the topic was resilience, and I heard women speak
Mm,
from a place of resilience. 19 women speak, and it was amazing. The Congress of Black Women has an event coming up in on Saturday that speaks to the revolution of wellness of women. Women are really tapping into and are trying their best to lift each other up, no matter what your race, no matter what your creed. You know, the Women of Impact conference is happening on the 27th. So there's you're hearing a lot of stuff for women. I mean, not just making it about a month, just like Black History Month. It shouldn't be just a month. To me, Black History Month is a launch of the anniversary of really just re-celebrating our history all the year through. The same thing should be done for Women's Month. This is just a kickoff this year in particular to be reminded of who we are and have those conversations, those inspired conversations. As I plug myself right there,
yes.
uh,
Yeah.
those inspired conversations, and really challenging ourselves as women to be sisters and to be sisters, whether you're color, creed, or race, to be that one who is lifting the other up, because there is enough room in the world for all of us, and
Okay.
that's the woman that I want to be around.
I could let that be the
Look at
closing line.
Laura's comment. Yeah,
I
it
know
was. It was.
she should have been speaking at it too.
Listen, we coming. We coming. We need Sarah. We need our own Black Speakers Bureau. But hey, we need that. Come
Yes.
on now, Sarah. We're working on that.
Yes.
Okay, Dr.
Yes.
Vibe.
Uh-huh. All right. Let me ask you, and we'll start winding it down soon. What has amplifying what you're doing with your podcast done for you?
Well, it's done two things. So the podcast, which is Victory Speaks, is an audio podcast. And so that really speaks to living a victorious life. And so it's really helped me to take a dream that I had put down a long time ago into living a life of victory and bringing others alongside that we have to, motivate and enlighten, empower individuals in their purpose. So that's what the podcast is about. The Victory Speaks show, however, which is what I am doing on Mondays, and now we've added Wednesdays, so it's 2 shows a week right now, and it's inspired conversations. We're bringing people onto the show who are living an inspired life, who are an inspiration to not just myself, but to others in any genre. I don't care who they are. Once they're doing it and once their intent is pure and they are real and they want to amplify others in life. And so that's what I'm doing. And it invigorates me. Sometimes I want to say, like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this without, the the financial support? But you know what? Eventually it will come. I just know I just have to do what's in my heart and amplify those voices to inspire others to live a life of victory. Because it's not just good for me, it's good for others. And if I can inspire one person a day, one person a week, well, imagine when that trickles and that next person inspires another person, then we have a whole unit and the glass becomes full and it's not just half empty.
Nice. Give me a few special moments from your shows so far in the journey.
Oh my God, there've been so many, and you've been on. So I've been so grateful that you've been on, and you've been a great teacher on it. Dr. I called him Dr. Mario Armstrong. Oh my God, you gotta tell
Hey,
Mario this.
okay, there's another lady that we have to get in for the round table too.
Oh, Sylvia Paris. Oh, definitely. Oh my God, we need Sylvia Paris on that round
I
table.
think
Next week is gonna be fire.
yes, Sylvia, we're forcing you now. Sorry, we're not inviting you. We're making you next
We're
week.
asking if you're available politely, Dr. Vine.
Yes, all right. Well, because we're
Are you available at 5 o'clock next week, Sunday,
Sunday?
Sylvia?
Yes, Sylvia, because we're gonna do a round table. We have a round table of ladies, and I may not even want to. I may just come on and introduce and just let you ladies chat and come back for the end.
We need a moderator.
Okay.
We need a moderator.
Okay, I'll moderate. But Sylvia, we'd like to know if you're available next week at 5 p.m. Eastern time, because we're gonna have a power roundtable. And yeah, you see, Sarah saying
Yes, yes. And you know what? I love the generational mix. I love the diversity mix.
look at
Because we're
this.
coming
Look,
from different places.
oh,
Yes.
look at this. Sure, will this be? Yes, it will be live on Facebook. The roundtable. Did you see that?
Yes, it will be.
Oh boy.
We're locked. We're locked and loaded. We're
Oh,
locked and loaded.
this
And
is like
this is what I like. This is
yes.
this is and this is this is if I was to say to you, what was your superpower? I think we have one of the same similar superpowers, is that we love connecting people and we love bringing people together. And that's one of our superpowers. Shirley, I forgot to answer my superpower thing. She asked me a question the other day on Clubhouse. What's your superpower? And I totally clued out it was my superpower was Nova Scotia, the Caribbean, and the continent of Africa. What more you want than that? Fire. There's a calypso, but you wouldn't know it.
But
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know what? Well, and I think another person that I introduced you to this year said the same thing about me.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be
It's
great.
beautiful. Like
This
I
is
love.
gonna be great. And you asked me like special moments on the show. I think every moment is special because from every guest, I learned something and I glean. Like, Coco was there as she was one of the ones who helped me to really just get this going. She wasn't my first guest, though she was supposed to be, but she was my last guest closing out last year. You know, I've brought people that I haven't spoken to in a long time. And the plethora of people I have lined up, I need to do this full time, let me tell you, because there are so many great people in our hemisphere.
We're working
Um,
on.
what is your genius was the question. Yes. Yes, she asked what was your genius. Shirley is such a
You know. You
great
know.
host.
You know.
She's just a great host. Go ahead.
We gotta talk. I think we may expand the table.
Oh,
I,
oh, no.
once this finishes, we gotta have a real quick talk, because we may we call this a super panel.
A super panel. I like that. I like
A
that.
super panel, but definitely, and Sarah's going brop brop.
She's dropping it. Listen. And I am just excited for the new season, the new time that's coming up. Like tomorrow, I get to interview the Congress of Black Women. Wednesday show you want to tune into. Her name is Kathy. She's from Calgary, and this woman runs a women's circle in Calgary. If you want to see women come together, tune in on Wednesday. When I went to Calgary for housing and I met this woman who brought women from different genres, different diversities, people who said they would
That's so
never come
beautiful.
together.
Sarah, thank you.
Oh,
That
she says
that
that you are addicted. You, I know, but you know what? You're not addicted. You're such a great listen. You're my number one fan. And so Kathy is going to, when we speak of women, she holds these circles in her home and in the community, and they do these phenomenal things. So I'm looking forward to what's coming up in this season of the Inspired Conversations, and then we're going to add on the mental health piece. Woo! Minding our minds. It's coming. It's coming.
From the time I've known you, I don't think I've seen you so excited.
Except when we were taping the TV show.
Other than that,
Yeah.
but no, you know what? I'm even going to say you're more excited now because you're meeting people, new people,
True. True.
and the energy and the engagement from your community is growing, and they're loving it.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Vibe. That's good to
And
hear.
you're doing it with the right intent, so it's gonna be successful. I've got ideas for next week just kicking in my head right now. Like it's just like
You can't even focus.
I know it's growing. And like when you're in the business world, they always say book a meeting from a meeting. Well,
Yeah.
we booked next week.
Yeah.
Like
Good.
look, I see Joan Brown saying, please send the link for Wednesday's event. Go
So
on to her. Yeah.
Joan, if you go to my page, so I have two pages. If you go to my Victory Speaks 77, so it's Victory Speaks 77, and that's
Yeah.
my Facebook page, and then my Victory Speaks 7, which is my YouTube page. It will be streaming on both platforms at I think it's 7 o'clock on Wednesday. We're looking at the one of
That's
the things,
not that link, Luke.
the other one,
Link.
the other
Other
one. So
link.
this is my
Gotcha.
Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube page, and then you'll see, that's it,
Yes.
Luke. That's perfect. We're saying Luke, so you're not seeing Luke. Luke is our producer, not our producer. It's Dr. Vibe's producer.
You're speaking a word, You're speaking a word.
I'm speaking a word into
Yeah, you're speaking a word.
I'm
Yes.
speaking
Good.
a word.
Yes. But
Yeah, so Joan, that's how you can find the show. And if you're looking for any of my past shows, you can go onto my Facebook page and my YouTube. I'm gonna plug it. I'm learning. The YouTube page needs some love. So the Victory Speaks 7 page needs some love on YouTube. As I grow my YouTube, and I may eventually. I'm really thinking about it, Vibe, that I may actually move the show just to YouTube. I don't know yet. I'm thinking about it.
uh,
But I love my interaction on Facebook. So,
yeah,
and look
I,
at Sarah's putting up my website. Look at you, Sarah. Stop it. Sarah, can you be my publicist? Please.
but you know what? That just shows good intent and good heart because Sarah is always looking out for the best of us.
Listen, she is, and you can call her at a moment's notice. When I was working in the Senate and I was looking for a host, we did the first really Black History Month event at the Senate, and I was fortunate to be the one putting it on. Sarah came on board, and I said, Sarah, I need a host, and I need a bilingual host. And she was there, and she was ready, and she was on it, man. She's solid, solid as a rock, but
Yes.
made like fine gold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Wow. We could go on, but I
Yeah.
know that we're just this is the appetizer. Next week is main course.
Main course. Okay.
Because we've mentioned some people's names, but there may be some more.
I know. I know. I seen the wires turning.
Yeah, there may be some more because next week, Luke, it may be a little bit longer edition next week. I'm just warning you right now because we're gonna bring in some powerhouses, and I'm gonna start working on it as soon as this broadcast ends.
When Black Canada gets talking, look what happens.
This is beautiful, Nicole. Any final words you'd like to share with our audience?
I would say this, as I say to myself, one of the tools that I put together for this season was a victory box. And in that victory box is every week I take the time and I write down at least one victory moment of the week, and several. And then I know I can pull it up at any time. And if I'm feeling down, and say, oh, remember that win? Remember that victory? So I encourage everybody to find a victory in each day and just compile them together. And at the end of the year, even if you did one a week, you would have 52 victory moments.
Well said. Wonderful. What a way to close. Well, part one is
Yeah.
done. Part one is done. She's going to be back next week with some friends from around the country, not around, we're going to say around the block. Thank you, Nicole, for everything you have done, are doing, and will be doing. I'd like to say thank you to Joan, Shirley, Sarah, Sylvia. And I love when I can just build a show. Most of the time I build a show after it's finished. This time, next conversation is set. So next week, 5 p.m., there's going to be a digital roundtable that you don't want to miss. Thank you, Sarah, for the Inspire Conference. Thank you for you, Sarah. Thank you for you. I'm Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Sylvia Perez. Victory is ours. Love you, Nicole. There you go. Comments are still flying in, so let me get out of here fast because I know there's lots of stuff going on in the back channel. Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Podcast News and 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, once a month, I host the only online show for dads and fathers in the world that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. And it's also co-sponsored by Dads Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. Also, I am a representative. I'm actually the board chair for an organization called the Global Food and Wine Initiative. No, Global Food and Drink Initiative. I don't drink wine. I don't drink alcohol. So I just say the Global Food and Drink Initiative, GFDI. It is a multimedia nonprofit whose goal and its purpose is to showcase Blacks in the diaspora that are in food, wine, and travel. So definitely, if you want any information on that, please share that with me too. I can help you with that. I would like to say thank you to everyone who watched this live on the replay. Thank you who are going to listen to this on the replay. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. As always, I like to say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Remember, next week, that is going to be the 21st of March. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. 5 p.m. It's going to be fire. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. And I'm going to end off with one last thing. And thank you. Oh, the comments are still coming on the conversations. Much respect. Going to leave with this. Worry keeps you paralyzed. Concern activates you to a solution. Thank you, BIA Media. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good.